This is Greg Troutwine with Maritime Reporter TV, and we're very pleased to be joined today by Ajay Suda, president of the U.S. naval architecture firm, AK Suda, to discuss offshore wind vessel design. Mr. Suda, to start, I'm sure that many of our readers know the AK Suda name, but can you give us a brief history and a by the numbers look at your firm today?
First of all, good morning, and thank you for the opportunity. Our company is over 35 years old. I started this company as what I used to call a one-chair barbershop. I used to consult, basically moonlight, for the industry, which included shipyards and also a number of naval architects, local naval architects.
Mr. Suda, obviously, there's very high interest and enthusiasm for the growing offshore wind sector in the U.S. Can you give us an overview of the market and the potential as you see it from where you sit?
Yeah, let me address the last part first. This is by far the most interesting new market of my career. It's full of challenges, commercial as well as technical. Now, technical challenges are nothing new to us. We face them all the time, and we can overcome them. The commercial challenges are sometimes difficult to overcome. Namely, for example, price tag. The price tag of this vessel is large, and there is lack of commitment in terms of guarantees. Whereas in Europe, they build vessels on a promise. Here, you cannot build vessels on a promise. You have to have a guarantee of employment. And we in the US are spoiled. In the oil industry, I understand we have long-term guarantees, and that's what results in vessels being built. The other thing is the permitting process. In Europe, the permitting process is streamlined. You go to one agency, you get your permit. Here, for good or for bad, we have several agencies involved, and we have to run the gauntlet. Now to the rest of your question. No doubt there is high enthusiasm. The projection is for a 500-fold increase in capacity in this decade itself. So we got to do something. We have an advantage. The political tailwinds are there, so at the federal level, but we still have to contend with state issues. We are not like Europe. We don't have a single agency that will approve everything for us. Right now, we do not have a Jones Act compliant vessel that can do the job. The desired method for even ferrying the turbines is with a jackup, with a lift boat, not by barges. So what is happening is we are now working with a stopgap arrangement because we do not have long-term commitments, and we have a lot of hurdles in our way to get approvals. The feeder vessel solution seems to be the only option left. It's a stopgap solution. It's an old solution which has long been discarded in Europe, and we are using it here. Even people who are offering this solution recognize the fact that this is stopgap. Now, the way it works is feeder vessels, Jones Act compliant feeder vessels with ferry turbine components from shore onto the site, where a foreign flag installation vessel will lift the turbine components off this barge and install them on site. The problem is most of the turbines are going to be too heavy to be lifted by the current assets, even in Europe. Many of these assets are being upgraded as we speak. And the new builds will take care of this. But Europe also has an ambitious plan. And the chances of these vessels, foreign flag vessels, staying at home in Europe are high. So we do not really have a proper installation method that is secure. If we are serious as an industry, there is something we need to do now.
As I understand that your firm has developed a new wind turbine installation vessel design. Can you give us a brief on the design with some of the specifics, including a projected price to build?
Yes. As you know, we've been for a long time in the oil and gas industry. And when we saw activity in this renewable energy, offshore wind energy sector, we decided to enter it. So we checked what was required in the industry. So in response to the industry requirements, we set out to design what we call a perfect vessel. Now, the biggest problem we had was that the turbine sizes were growing bigger and bigger as we were designing. So we projected a certain size of turbines. Unfortunately, we were wrong halfway through our project, or maybe 1/3 of the way through our project. So we had to upscale it. So as a result of that, what we did was we developed a series of designs. We call them the JG series. This is a family of designs. And we presented them to the industry. The industry was very forthcoming. We had multiple NDAs signed with the majors. And as a result of that, industry vetting, the JG10000T, which you may have heard of in the industry, came to the surface. This vessel has about 13,000 tons dead weight. A major wind farm owner could not believe the capabilities of this vessel. After they vetted it, they found it to be able to carry 33% more cargo than, in their words, a comparable design from the EU. And that helped us a lot, because there's a clarion sounding everywhere that US-built vessels are going to be extremely expensive. I mean, this charge doesn't need help. It carries itself. After all, who's going to believe that the costs in the US are not one of the highest in terms of labor? So we had to overcome that. One way to do that was to build or to design a more efficient vessel, which is what we did. We also had to look at making sure that this vessel was capable of working in other sectors. For example, oil and gas sector. If suppose it did not have work in the renewable energy sector, it could moonlight in the oil and gas sector. So what we did was we designed the vessel to have a water depth of 65 to 80 meters. Now, 65 meters is probably the highest you would ever need in offshore wind turbine installation. I shouldn't say ever, because you never know how deep they want to go 10 years from now. But that's what it looks like. Now, in the turbine installation in the northeast US is seasonal. During off-season, you have to install foundations. This vessel is capable of installing foundations. It can carry maybe 2 foundations and install them. It has got everything on board to do that. It has an accommodation of about 125 persons. And it also has a leg encircling crane of 2,500 tons. This is capable of handling decommissioning of platforms in the oil and gas sector, and also installing foundations. And we found that within reason, the price tag is comparable to building what they call European Union design vessel of similar capacity in the Far East. That's the edge we have. Now, as I've said in an earlier interview, The price tag we came up with based on shipyard bids was 300 million USD. This version may be a little higher, but it'll be significantly lower than what you may have heard as being built in the country. That is the edge we have for our design.
What do you count as the top 3 or 4 technical or market-related advantages to your design?
Number one is cost. The JG10000T can accommodate not only the current turbines contemplated, but also a reasonable distance into the future. It is expandable. The vessel is expandable. I mean, suppose we go to 20 megawatt turbines, which is just still gleam in someone's eye. But if we go that far, we feel that we should be able to upgrade this vessel even to that extent. And that's as far forward as you can see. And that's another advantage of this vessel.